In this training, you're going to learn more about the science of disc. Now, before I learned about disc in 2016, I was lost, I was confused, and I really didn't understand my strengths and my weaknesses. However, when I started to learn about the science of disc from one of the world's leading doctors, I was totally blown away. I started to discover how I approached problems and challenges. I quickly learned how I could become more influential amongst people. I also learned how to deal with the pace and the consistency of the environment, so I didn't fear change. And in addition, I was also able to move away from procrastination and start to get really motivated. Now, in this training, I'm going to give you an overview of DISC, and then we're going to take a deep dive when we're in the 100x DNA Masterclass. Now, what we've learned is that everybody has to respond to problems and challenges on a daily basis. All of us, if we want something, we have to interact with people and contacts. From day to day, the environment changes pace, and some of us fear change, and some of us are very slow to respond. In addition, all of us have to deal with procedures and constraints. However, some of us get stuck in procrastination because we fear trying and failing, and ultimately we worry about making a mistake. Now, by learning about DISC, we can start to learn about where our true focus is. Now, what we've learned is that some people are more task and goal focused, whereas on the other side of the equation, people are more people and relationship focused. So I want you to think about this for a moment. When you're interacting, do you tend to be more task focused and goal focused? Or do you tend to be more focused on people and relationships? Now, it's really important that we think through this because at the 100x DNA Masterclass, we're going to use science to predict, are you more task and goal focused, or are you more people and relationship focused? Now, depending on which side of the scale that you're on, will determine the goals you should be setting for yourself, the careers and the business opportunities that you should be pursuing. We've also discovered that some people tend to be more outgoing. Some people tend to tell a lot of stories and they talk a lot. And on the other side of the scale, we often find people are more reserved. They like to ask well thought out questions and they listen closely to the answer. So I want you to think about this in your life. Are you more outgoing? Do you like to tell stories? Do you like to talk a lot? Or do you tend to be more reserved? You like to ask questions and listen to others. Now, we're also a combination of this. So some people are task-focused and outgoing. Other people are relationship-focused and outgoing. Other people are reserved and people-focused. And some people are task-focused and more reserved. And this will determine your personality. It will determine the careers that you should take. It will also determine the goals that you should be setting for yourself right now. And when we're at the 100x DNA Masterclass, we are going to use science to predict your personality type. But right now, you can start to get a feel for who you are. Now, in our disc style, we have 4 core styles. The first style we have is the D style, and this stands for dominance, and it's how you respond to problems and challenges in your life. The second style is the I style, and this is called influence, and it's about how we respond to people and contacts. The third style is the S style. We call this steadiness, and it's how we respond to the pace and the consistency of the environment. The fourth style is our C style, and we call this compliance, and this predicts how we respond to procedures and constraints. Now, understanding your disc style will help you determine where you should place more or less of your focus. It'll also help you understand why you interact with people the way that you do. Our behaviors are a prerequisite for success, and once I learned and mastered this science, I made more than 3,000 new sales in my business in the following years. So I know that at the 100x DNA Masterclass, I'm going to take you on a deep dive, and as soon as you understand more about your disc style, you become so confident in everything that you do. Now, there's a few reasons why we explore DISC. DISC is a model to help us understand some of the ways people are different. Now, I think the older you get, the more experience you get, you start to realize that everybody's different. They have different wants. They have different needs. They have different goals. They have different desires. They have different tastes. And DISC helps us understand some of the ways people are different. In addition, DISC is a tool that can help you to locate and highlight your strengths. Now, I was a co-leader of 17,000 cabin crew at Emirates Airline, and I used to ask my cabin crew on a daily basis, what are your strengths? However, 95% of people were not certain about their strengths. DISC and using the science of DISC will help you articulate your strengths, and you'll be able to pinpoint and highlight your strengths. In addition, DISC gives us a system to help us recognize and manage our potential limitations. And maybe you're feeling stressed right now. Maybe you're feeling left behind because you see other people accelerate their levels of success and you wonder why you're getting left behind. Well, some of the reasons why we get left behind is because these limitations are getting in our way and we don't quite know how to handle our fears. We don't feel confident amongst people. And when change comes, sometimes we're too slow to respond because we're afraid of leaving our comfort zone. DISC will help us understand what exactly is holding us back. And I promise you this, as soon as you understand what's holding you back, you can start to work on unique strategies to move forward. And I'll give you those strategies at the 100x DNA Masterclass. Now, to better understand DISC, we've got to understand what DISC is not. The DISC language does not measure your values. They're your rules in life. It does not measure your intelligence. We're not concerned about levels of IQ at the 100x DNA Masterclass because we know intelligence alone is not a great predictor of success. In addition, DISC is not about measuring your skills and life experience. We will actually measure your skills using the science of DNA. And we're going to have a look at where you rank on the 25 most important skills in the world. In addition, DISC does not measure your education and training levels, and DISC does not measure your ability and willingness to change. My belief is that you can become anybody that you want to become to achieve any goal that you set for yourself. And I'll give you those strategies at the 100x DNA Masters. Now, to better understand DISC, DISC is a language that measures our behaviors and our emotions. Behaviors are what we do, and then those emotions, those feelings. It also helps you better understand your feelings. Now, DISC is a language that is observable. It doesn't matter what country you're from in the world. It doesn't matter what language you speak, your mother tongue. We can observe the DISC language in people's behaviors. DISC is also a universal language. It doesn't matter if you're Japanese, Chinese, Malaysian, Indonesian, Australian, European, American. It doesn't matter where you're from. It's a universal language, and we can see this in all cultures. In addition, it's a silent language. It's not a spoken language, and it's also a neutral language, meaning that there's no good or bad, right or wrong. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to personally show you how you can apply the science of DISC so you can start to catapult your influence, accelerate your impact, and unleash new income levels. Now, make sure you stay tuned for the next training where we're going to learn more about the science of DISC.